Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am PANCZASU, and I have a few minutes for City Skylines. This is a new video format that I'll be experimenting with in the next few videos, and because this is the very first video to feature a set format, I'm going to take a moment to explain what it actually is. In the description there will be a link to, of course, skip this introduction. So, those of you that are following my channel might be aware that from time to time I post videos called Introducing. Videos from the series aim to inform you of games that I personally find particularly interesting or worthy of your attention for other reasons. Now the problem with that is that this format usually means that I talk pretty in depth about the games that I want to showcase and oftentimes also provide you with tutorials and stuff. Sometimes, however, I don't have a lot of time and I just want to showcase some kind of game to you without much explanation or tutorial stuff involved, and for that I believe this format will do me quite well. I literally am going to only spend a few minutes, usually less than 10 I hope, to talk about a particular game, tell you what I think of it, if I like it or not, why, what it is, and that's about it. So the next few videos of the series will be pilot episodes. I'm very much open to critique and suggestions on what to do and change with this format, and yeah, let's get it on, shall we? So City Skylines. This is a city builder game that I am quite excited to be able to play, and I have been waiting for it for quite some time. Those of you, however, who don't know what city builder games are, well, let's jump into my city first and I'll explain as we are loading in. City builders games are fairly simple in concept. You are given a lot of terrain looking more or less like this, and you're supposed to create a magnificent, beautiful city over there. Like the one I have over here, which is relatively small compared to what you can make in this game. Trust me, it can get quite ridiculous. However, this is the city that I control at this current time, and this is what you're supposed to do in this game. Just take an empty plot of land and create a city. As simple as that. There have been numerous games that have attempted this and done it either well or wrong. In both cases, we're looking at SimCity titles, which are the most recognizable ones, the latest SimCity being absolutely disgustingly horrible, but games like SimCity 4, 3000, 2000 all being absolutely great, as well as some other games like, let's say, Cities XXL, which were apparently quite bad, but I didn't play them, or Cities XL, the very first one, which in my opinion were pretty effing good. Regardless, there are a few games in the genre, not too many though, and the genre needed something good to prove that, you know, there's still a point in playing this without just launching the good old SimCity 4 again and again and again. So this is why we are here. Like in every city building game, there are several things that you need to keep an eye out in order to progress your city to a better level and start gaining more income so you can create a bigger city and so on and so forth. The first and foremost, there are the markers that show you what demand you have for particular type of tiles, like residential tiles, commercial tiles and industry tiles, all of which you can map using this handy tool over here. There are low and high density residential tiles, low and high density, not industrial but commerce tiles. There are industrial tiles and office tiles, which are in a way also industrial tiles in this game, and you can also unmap different tiles. Those tiles obviously have to be connected to roads so that citizens can gain access to them, and then you can play with all sorts of things. Like, for example, when you have your industry tile, you can designate it to be only a farming industry, or you can designate it to be only a generic industry, meaning heavy industry, or maybe oil industry, which usually encompasses oil refineries and such. Plenty of tools available to customize what you want to have in your city. Aside from that, your citizens have some basic needs that you need to take care of. They need to have electricity, they need to have water, you need to take care of the garbage for them, you need to make sure that they are healthy, you need to make sure that they are not on fire, which is the biggest problem for me as of right now, I'm afraid. There are plenty of buildings that are burning or burned down. There's one right now that is actually on fire. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Let's unpause for the time being. You need to make sure that your citizens are not killing each other, that they actually know what 1+1 is, that they can get to their work, that they don't die out of stress, all sorts of nice little friendly business that you need to take care of as a mayor. This building is really on fire. I don't think it's gonna make it. Where's the fire department? Whatever. Let's not bother with that, shall we? So that's basically the gist of it. That's what pretty much every city building game does. Now, in order to do those kind of things effectively, by which I mean make sure that your citizens are healthy and whatnot, you need to make sure you need to be able to keep an eye on all sorts of things. And this game does allow you to do this. You can check if you have electricity or water coverage, you can check if your garbage is being disposed, and all sorts of other things. You can see, for example, in this game people actually die, and you need to make sure that you have places on cemeteries and that you can actually burn your dead, and you can see how well you're doing in this regard. You can see how your traffic is organized. You can see that, for example, my highways are really a mess, but this is actually related to how AI pathing works, which is not exactly ideal, but that's a minor issue. Why are you using a highway if you only use one lane, for crying out loud? Anyway, there are other things as well, like for example noise pollution, plenty of data to go around and check, which is all very important if you want to have a really good and efficient city. If you want to see more data, that is available as well in city statistics, which is also rather important for you to check periodically. Showing that there's no music in city statistics, but I guess you cannot have everything, can you? Now, all the changes that you make and all the things that you actually make sure that happen in your city can be seen in real time. For example, if you do something that changes the way that your road infrastructure works, you can see that there are more cars on your roads or less. You can see, click on every individual car that I'm trying to do right now and see where it's heading from where it is heading, what it is doing, what kind of car it is, and stuff like that. You can also do the same thing with citizens and whatnot, which is, for example, a good way of checking how important are your bus stops. Like this bus stop has tons of people over it. It's a very important bus stop. Meanwhile, this bus stop has barely anybody waiting for it, but a lot of people are getting out when buses actually do arrive over here. It's all important info that actually is real. It's not just flavor, it's not just for show, it does matter, which is actually pretty important. Also, another building on fire. That's a common problem with my city, I'm afraid, but at least people are doing something about it this time. Unlike many other games, you don't actually have to take direct responsibility of when things are on fire and whatnot. Your fire department will do a decent enough job on its own, though sometimes they'll just ignore fires if they are slightly out of their range, which is a bit dumb. Regardless, that is that. Now, what about some other differences that this game has in relation to most other city builders? There is no day and night cycle. This is actually a really big shame. One of my favorite things about both SimCity 4 and Cities XR was the night cycle. Cities looked so beautiful during the night, and this game unfortunately has nothing of it. Day is always day, it never goes into night, which is a bit of a shame in all honesty, but hey, I guess you cannot have everything. There are no cataclysms other than fires and occasional flooding, and flooding you pretty much have to cause on your own. So there is that. There will be no tornadoes, no ground thingies, how are they called again? Earthquakes, there we go. Unless, of course, you mod the game, but we'll talk about that later. I personally don't care about there not being anything that allows you to have those kind of disasters. I have never been a big fan of those, in all honesty. So, what else is there to say? Well, the game in general, I personally believe is pretty good, but there are a few things that I hope that the developers will keep an eye out. For example, I'm pretty sure that there is a very big tension for the devs to look at what SimCity 4 does well and replicate that, without necessarily looking at what other games do well. In this particular example, Cities XR. When it came out, Cities XR had one amazing system, that being the trading system. At the start of the game, when it launched, it was trying to be an MMO, it failed in the end, but you could basically play online with a huge amount of other players and you could trade with their cities. Later on, when this got removed, you could still trade with your own cities and you could trade commodities like oil, people like educated workers or uneducated workers or geniuses or whatnot. You could trade electricity. It allowed you to create cities that were very much suited for what you wanted to do. Cities that did one particular thing and did it well. For example, maybe you didn't want to have any power plants in your city at all. You could do that in Cities XL. Maybe you wanted to have 0 residential zones. You could do that as well. Whatever suits your needs, you could do anything you wanted. In here, it's less like this. And if you want You can have zones in your city that focus on one thing. For example, I have industrial zone over here and residential / commerce zone over here, but it's not like you can trade resources from somewhere else. You need to have somewhere on your map something that gives you power, something that gives you water, and so on and so forth. This is something that I wish would be implemented from Cities XR. That would be in fact kind of awesome. Another thing about this game, it's a little bit too easy. If we have a quick look at the city statistics and the city treasury, you can see that I've been simming a lot in this game, by which I mean I was doing nothing and just looking at how beautiful it is and what is happening in my city. But as you can see, after more or less this point, I never ever had any problems with finance whatsoever. I have basically infinite money. And it's very easy to get to this point, in all honesty. I never feel like I'm close to being bankrupt, which is a loose condition per se, but I'm not sure how exactly you can lose this game. I have never lost it, obviously, and I have never seen anybody lose it. So it's a bit too easy, at least to in my opinion. But you can activate things like expo mods, and again, mods are in place to help you with that. It's also a bit lacking in personality. I'm also looking at SimCity 4, which was a bit generic, but it did have personality, especially with the advisors and whatnot. It really felt very much so alive, and I liked it a great deal. But like SimCity 4, it does have a decent amount of policies that you can have take place in your city, and you can also assign them to specific zonings so that you can have one zone with no heavy traffic, for example. As you can see, this central zone I have right there, the I, it has a bunch of tax raises because it's the most prestigious zone I have, but it also has a bunch of perks and whatnot. So yeah, when it comes to policies, it's pretty nice. Not as nice, I believe, as SimCity 4 was, but it's still pretty okay in my opinion. The game has amazing mod support. If we exit the game for just a second and go back, my apologies, I accidentally quit the game. Anyway, as you can see, this game does have stellar mod support. There are billions of mods in this game already, including a mod that allows you to fly a plane. There is a plane simulator in this game already. If we wait a little bit longer, we're gonna have GTA in this game. I swear it's gonna happen. It has to happen. Anyway, let's jump right back in for the final conclusions. I really like this game. It's a bit simplistic, but it has insane potential, and it's already very, very fun as it is. The mod support is a very big deal, and it's done exceptionally well in this game. And let's not forget, it's a game released by Paradox, which means DLC are coming, and Paradox is one of the few publishers I trust with DLC. I expect the DLC to be good, I expect it to be fun. A bit expensive perhaps, but usually worth the price, so yeah, I'm optimistic and I have very high hopes for this game. One last complaint that I would like to level out this game, which I almost forgot, is, for example, sometimes you have those abandoned buildings in your city. I wish you could have the information like, why was it abandoned? I would love to know, because this building in this particular place keeps being abandoned all the time. I have no clue why, because it's an amazing zone, it should not be abandoned. But anyway, that is about that. I also wish that the buildings looked a bit grander. I mean, those are huge skyscrapers, but they don't feel like huge skyscrapers, if you know what I mean. But aside from that, really, this is a really, really good game, and I enjoy playing it a lot. And if you have any interest in city building games, I encourage you to give it a try as well. There's a lot of bad buildings in my place. Really a lot. I know. Whatever. Still, that's all I have to say about it. This videocast was a bit longer than 10 minutes, but then again, I did explain the format to you, so I'm gonna blame it on that. Ladies and gentlemen, it was PANCZASU, also known as the Mighty Mix Spammer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you online.